Linda Hayes. I'm the director with the Council on Aging Senior Center here in Scituate. Welcome back to our Seniorities segment on SCTV. I'm here again, as usual, with J.D. Miller, our chair of the Council on Aging Board of Directors.
Nice to be here again.
And we haven't taped our program for, I guess, the summer at least, through September. We were otherwise occupied, I guess a little preoccupied, and we wanted to catch the community audience up on what has been happening with regard to the senior center site proposals for a location.
Feasibility study.
Feasibility study. So thought it was timely at least to do that today for you, as well as catch you up on a few things going on at the senior center.
So let's go, we haven't been on in a while. Let's go back to June. June, we hosted some public forums. Was it June or was it July?
That was July. June was when the architectural firm presented to the Board of Selectmen their report, the feasibility study, in fact, on the 4 locations that had been determined by the Board of Selectmen and gone into the study. So June was the report.
We had a
by
presentation right at the Board of Selectmen. Then we had public forums
in July.
To kind of walk through it, but also bring Joel Bergman back and make and kind of go through his presentation publicly.
So the 2 public forums were on the same day, day and evening, at the Center for Performing Arts at the high school. Some of you, I'm sure, may have attended, and for those that did not, it was videotaped, filmed by SCTV, and did run at least, I assume, for the summer. So you may have seen that. We can encapsulate that a little bit.
The studies are online still, right? Town website. I believe they are.
The studies are on the town website still.
Yeah, good, okay.
That brings us
so then we as a council board decided we needed to be a little bit more, well, we wanted to get a little bit more feet on the street, if you will, to take a look at these sites. So we actually took the time on a couple of days, I think, to walk or try to walk some of the sites. I think it's fair to say that every single site has pluses and minuses. There's no consensus in terms of this is clearly the best one, this is clearly the worst one. They all have pluses, they all have minuses. What I thought we'd maybe do today is kind of walk through what we as a board did. Again, and just maybe commenting on some of the observations as to the pluses and the minuses on each of these 3 or 4 sites, right? So you were nice enough to bring along some, diagrams of some of the sites. So
3 of the 4.
3 of the 4. So what we maybe we'll do is just kind of walk through some talking points that we had on each of these sites. So the first one was the library site, and again, the architect for the feasibility study on every single site actually kind of planned out where to put a building in 2 different places on each site.
There were at least 2 options for each of the
so 2
sites.
options for each site. So they were sort of commissioned to say, here's a structure, plop it down on this piece of land in a couple of spots and see how things felt. So on this schematic, which maybe is difficult to read, this is the current town library, right here.
I'm going to point out where the parking is for the town library.
Well, the parking here.
That's the parking lot for the town library. So here's the town library with its entrance, and this is the parking lot, which at the time this picture was taken was not complete. So this is the space that has now become the parking lot.
Okay. So we look, and again, there are 2 different options here, but we're just going to try to highlight one. There's also, so on this property, on this campus, if you will, there is central housing. So that's over here, okay. I'm disoriented. but-
This is option A, which has the building on the
Okay, on the
back
front.
end of the parking area, so to speak,
Okay,
behind the,
okay,
Behind
right,
outside
so
the parking
I need to be
area.
looking at it,
you can do that. if you want.
he's sort of like this, right?
Do that, right. We'd be facing the proposed site for the senior center now, facing it.
Right.
And to our left
Right.
would be the entrance to the library and the library building.
Right, so we looked at a couple of different locations. Now, again, pluses and minuses on every single location, on every single option. As I recall, the library site, so first of all, the library site maybe has a tight entrance and/or shared parking. The plus being the shared parking, the minus being it may not accommodate everything, right?
And they did propose some supplemental spaces as well, but that would be the concern and maybe something to be reconsidered is how they could do the parking lot more independent of where the library
Yeah,
is.
yeah. There was wetlands on one of the, that had previously, it's grown,
Mhm.
really, right, over the years. This is a site that at one point back 10, 15 years ago was looked at
Mhm.
for a possible senior
yes.
center. And
2000.
since then, they've actually discovered that really the wetlands area has grown. So it's actually affected what everybody thought was maybe a site that was
Mhm.
sort of behind the library that was accessible. Well, it's not as accessible as it used to be
Right.
because it's more of its water now.
Which brought it a little closer to the library site itself. Yes.
Right, right.
But there's still substantial land, certainly, it is trees currently.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I know we talked online or offline, and not specific to this diagram, but relevant to everything. You know, what are things to look at? Is the placement of a building better closer to the street or better back from the street? Is it better, you know, is there sufficient parking? Is there sufficient access? Is there sufficient room to expand? Is it too crowded? Is it not crowded enough? Is accessible and, you know, with sewer or you name it? So all those kind of things went into every single site, and then with two options, everyone was trying to figure out, okay, so where do people park here, or where is the next, and this property, there's already an approved additional senior housing that'll be adjacent to the current central housing, so that tightens up sort of the space a little bit, which I think would be right in here. Am I right, if I'm looking at it correctly now?
It would be positioned horizontally behind what is currently central housing.
Yes,
So
right,
it,
right.
Abuts the current parking for the
Right.
housing authority, which is behind the building.
Right, right. So, pluses, it's accessible to town library, which is a nice new building. If no one has taken a look at it or walked into it, it's gorgeous. So it ties into library, easy access to library, easy access for those certainly in,
Walkability for the
Housing.
people currently residing in senior housing and or the new development, which is only 30 units. And when that is complete, it's hard to say in another year or in a
Yeah,
half,
yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
There are also fields there,
Right, there's a ball field right in front of Central.
used by
Central,
recreation, and I believe the schools and our senior softball
Yep.
league as well.
Yeah. So there's sort of exercise areas, there's entertainment areas outside, there's access to the library, access to housing. All pluses, probably. On the flip side, there's encroachment of water, there's sort of a tight fit to try to pop a building into a space that's already been expanded and is already committed to be an expansion with another housing unit. Parking, access,
I think more than anything else, it is the activity level for both buildings, potentially being the library and the senior center, as well as the parking
right,
being perhaps not enough
Right,
and shared.
right.
So those would be the concerns, and not that they couldn't be addressed, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, and we, you know, on every single site, we talked about what are the abutters, what is the access, is there a decent traffic flow, are there sight lines coming in and out? Are there, so all of these things were considered. We walked this space, we saw where a couple of the options were. We're not making any judgments, but, so we just wanted to sort of review what we had done on this property. Again, pluses and minuses. So,
Okay,
number 2.
sure, what do we have next? The Gates School area. This particular proposal has the building in the back end of what is the soccer field currently. And the proposal,
Right,
of
so
course,
on
includes
thi-
relocating the soccer field both on the same property as well as the possibility that it would go elsewhere.
Right, so on this visual, which maybe people can't see terribly well, here's the existing Gates School. First Parish is out here. Again, there were 2 proposals.
Cudworth Road.
Cudworth's here. So the Little Red Schoolhouse is here. One proposal, the ball field is here. One proposal was a building here, which is sort of directly behind Little Red Schoolhouse, and would encroach
At
on
the
the
back.
current ball field, I think.
This is the one at the back end of the current soccer field.
Yeah.
Because this is the relocated soccer
Right.
field, which also I think would take over the ball field.
Right, right.
And the tennis courts would remain, which has been the case in any of the proposals
So that would be here.
of
Yeah.
the Gates School property.
Yeah.
And this has the parking spaces in front of the senior center, between the senior center and the existing Gates School.
Mhm. So this actually brings some traffic flow in on Cudworth, has parking, adjacent to tennis, adjacent to ball field. And then, if I recall correctly, the second option on Gates, and maybe we should talk about the third option on Gates, but the second option was a building up in this corner.
It was where the C wing
Right.
currently is, and it would be positioned sideways to First Parish Road.
Right, so a building up here, you know, again, benefits might be access to First Parish and sewerage, distraction or problem being traffic entry.
That was,
Between coming in here or coming in on this crazy intersection between Cudworth, First Parish, that's like a 5-way intersection where fortunately most people know what to do, but it's difficult to figure it out if you're a newcomer.
but this offered very little space, and that was noted, that they could place the building there, and there was some surrounding area, but not very much, certainly no expansion opportunities, and no real outdoor space, although with the relocated soccer field, or potentially if that was to stay, they could work on a walking path around the soccer field, and had included that in the study and the cost.
Mhm. So again, Gates, traffic flow, means of egress, parking, sewer connection, sight lines, expandability, all topics, items to sort of consider, criteria to try to whittle down a decision. Benefit, again, maybe similar to the library site, would be the nearness, if you will, of other things. So if First Parish is here, you're right across the street from Lawson Tower and Central Parking, and a little bit farther away from the library. You've got ball fields and tennis courts and exercise areas. It's in the center of town. Some of those are good things, some of those are, right?
Those
Yeah.
to be good things. The uncertainty of what will become of the Gates School building is the current unknown, making it maybe a little bit of a disadvantage unless we were able to say it would be town hall,
Right.
recreation is going to be in there,
Right.
at least for the short term, and that would certainly offer some opportunities.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely, and that point, I think, is dead on in terms of this site. It's the uncertainty.
And some of the
It's what-
concerns.
What's happening with the rest of this complex?
Mhm.
It's central to town, it's, you know, sort of a gorgeous area, if you will, but we've already gone through the building reuse committee and understand that, you know, that Gates School structure is not in great shape.
But also something that if redesigned.
Right.
Could be a nice
Right.
opportunity for the town to retain something that historical and that much of an opportunity,
Yeah.
large building. Traffic still is a concern, and some of the abutters, you know, close to the abutters, if we were to put a senior center
Yeah,
there.
most of whom are here,
Mhm.
I believe. So, I'm hesitant to go too far here, but one of the things that was also then put into the survey was the sort of coming back around on an option to potentially look at or think about literally trying to redo some of that Gates building, which I believe would probably be right in there. Am I right about that?
The current B wing had been proposed
Right.
for use within the building for a senior center as well as some other area there. There had been 2 proposals made a year ago in June, so over a
Right.
year ago now.
Right?
That both had a building behind the current Gates School, taking away the B wing. It wasn't as far back as the current proposal, but situated a little bit closer, some shared parking, some independent parking, the tennis courts still stayed. And then there was also something putting us in the building, which actually had been a more expensive option,
Right.
but not vetted to the point that there was a price
Right,
actually determined by
Right.
the architects at that point.
right.
So it was placed on the recent survey that we did about the site locations, which we'll talk about a little bit. So yes, I think that
So this, yeah,
might still be a
this site
consideration.
absorbed 3 options as
Right,
opposed to
it
2.
did, it
Right.
Okay, last, in terms of our diagrams, because we did not include here the Purple Dinosaur Park, which in itself, you know, had been viewed, looked at, studied. A little bit small, still could house a
Yeah.
senior center, but without room for expansion. Certainly, I think that was a little, something that some of the community would not want to consider, that would lose the playground opportunity and the ball field opportunity without being able to share anything.
Right, yeah, the Purple Dinosaur seemed to fall last on the chain, if you will.
Although the street location was nice.
Street
and the,
location was nice, but we were
opportunity.
taking away a field, multiple abutters, not room for expandability. It just felt to almost everyone that maybe a property to
It
stay
was
away
the
from.
smallest site.
Yeah,
This particular site here was somewhat of a newcomer to the considerations, off of the Driftway on, I guess, what becomes New Kent Street or
Right.
the Driftway.
Right.
At the fork where the Driftway bears right and New Kent Street continues down towards the harbor and the town center.
Mhm.
So proximity-wise, it's a nice location.
So
in
if I'm
terms-
right, the driftway kind of goes like this,
Right.
right? And there's an intersection right here that defines the perimeter of the property. Am I right about that? Because we walked this way and then walked up the hill sort of to take a look at that. So this is off of the driftway and the intersection of New Kent.
It's a little hard to read because it's currently undeveloped.
Right.
And Joel's terminology for it, the architect had been glacial. But they can deal with that, and they have parking overlooking really what we call the Driftway, at least the busier street
Yep.
location.
Yep.
But the front of the building would be located on the residential side, which does have a few neighbors, not directly, a little bit across, but
Mhm.
still there's some land
Mhm.
between the proposed site and the
Mhm.
residential homes.
Mhm. Right, there's nothing on this property
Mhm.
now,
Mm.
at least building-wise.
Right.
There is, from my understanding, an historic farm,
There
A
is
little-
someone farming.
right?
I
Okay.
know that.
But this property, so some of the benefits to this property were standalone, easy, I don't want to say easy, but means of in and out off of a couple of different streets,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Expandability, parking.
It offers a nice opportunity for a senior center building facility that really could accommodate a lot of needs.
Right, right. And because, we don't want to go too deep here, but because of nothing else being on the property, the estimated cost,
Mhm.
which is going to be an issue for whatever
Mhm.
choices are made, the estimated costs here, just because there's no demolition required,
Mhm.
were a little bit less than some of the other pieces
Mhm.
of property that were looked at.
Right.
So cost is good, is an issue, access is good, but standalone,
It's an attractive location, and considerations for each of the sites became, transportation, whether or not it was accessible
Yep.
by public transportation, which is less of a concern, frankly, because if we are using or alluding to public transportation by the Gatra sloop,
yeah, sure.
that will go anywhere, and the routes could be altered if necessary, but it does go along that route currently.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
And we provide, as the Council on Aging, transportation for seniors within Scituate, who would be able to come to the senior center via that if they weren't driving on their own.
Mhm.
So transportation anywhere is not really a concern, except that it does also have some walkability opportunities from the center as well as the surrounding neighborhoods. There is a walking path currently.
From the harbor.
From the harbor
Yeah.
and/or any of the side streets off of the Driftway.
Hmm.
There's crosswalks.
Mhm, mhm.
Traffic speed was the only concern that the architects had put in the report. So that would be something to consider
Yep.
if it became an issue.
Yep, yeah, traffic coming to and from, either coming from Greenbush into the harbor or from leaving the harbor. Yeah, your miles per hour is probably a little higher on that
It's about
stretch
40,
of road.
45.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, very nice. So those are sort of three of the four.
and what we should mention, or and many watching here would be aware, so for the end of August into September, up to September 15th, the survey, which had been created by the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, went public. It was online primarily through SurveyMonkey. Tried our best to publicize that and hope most people found it and were able to complete it. It was very short, 6 questions with some multiple choice opportunities, but closed on the 15th, and the data was put online by the 18th,
Mhm.
or perhaps the 19th. So that it now still sits on the town website, situatema.gov, on the Council on Aging page. So both the data and graphics that illustrate how the data was tallied
Mhm.
and the results, and as well a separate document for the comments. Some people made, I think we had,
Well, we had, I believe, without being dead on the numbers, over 1,100,
yeah.
somewhere between 11 and 1,200 responses to
Yes,
the survey.
Yes, we did. I do put the number, and 511 comments.
Right, which is literally 50% of the people that took the survey decided they wanted to make a comment. So all of that's up there,
Yeah.
if anybody's interested in looking at it, looking at
Mhm.
sort of the numbers and looking at the texts
Mhm.
around commentary.
Mhm. And the comments do pretty much state the concerns the community has,
Yeah.
you know, of a varied nature, and much of the support that the senior center does have for the fact that we are in an inadequate building, that we have unmet needs that we can't accommodate under the current circumstances. So we have both support and concerns regarding how to get this done. But that said, the selectmen are proposing another set of public forums to vet the survey results with the public again.
And we don't have a date set, correct?
Following the now selection of the new town administrator, I think their attention will turn to this again.
Right, so we expect a date to be determined and announced for a public session to try to get some additional feedback and public response around the survey, or as follow-up and additional background on some of the comments.
Yeah, I think so. Ultimately, of course, it's in their hands, and, you know, they want to make a good decision, and they want to make it with the community so that they know it's something that the community will embrace. And we hope so, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think
So we're
that's-
always looking for feedback and support
Yeah.
in terms of what our next steps, or what are some ideas is to move this forward.
Yes.
So,
Thank you to all who did complete the survey. It's a great help to know where the community stands and what we can address for you and hope to address for you in the coming months in terms of what the needs are and what we hope to be able to provide with a new senior center. So looking forward to having more input and ultimately coming to a decision.
mhm.
That'd be great.
So that kind of very briefly summarizes, you know, kind of what we've been doing a little bit, June, July, and August. Or in June, July, and August, and September. So the feasibility study the survey was in September. The results are in. You're welcome to take a look at it. The next step will be a public forum. Next step after that, to be determined. We're closing in on the end of our time here. Do you have some things you want to let people know about?
I would. I will talk about a few upcoming events, I guess, so to speak. We have our Health and Lifestyle Fair, which we try to do annually. This year it is on Tuesday, October 24th. We are holding it at St. Mary's Parish. It'll be from 10 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. We try to collect a lot of various resources for seniors, their families, to come in and hear about. We have some short talks by some of our exhibitors and vendors, some giveaways, and I think ultimately it's always a great experience to learn what the local community offers for adults to take advantage of in terms of wellness and healthy aging. So that is the 24th. We also,
So, who would be there? I mean, who will be there in terms of, you know, Department of Health?
Department of Health
Yes.
will be there, and we have our own town nurse, and she
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
will yet again be there to provide flu shots.
Good.
Which I know she's tried
Yeah,
a couple
that
of
started.
times.
She started.
but,
I noticed that started a couple weeks ago.
I believe she
Yeah.
has some left. And the benefit of having her do our flu shots, because you can go to CVS, or they can even come, and some of the other pharmaceutical organizations that do flu shots. But anyway, the town of Scituate gets money for the flu shots that they give out. So when there's a final number, it serves us.
Right.
And serves
Because
the health
then we can
department.
get it again the following year.
So
So,
it's great. We hope to be able to provide those, as well as blood pressure screenings and, you know, balance assessments. We have the fire department and the Red Cross, and I think someone's offering to do some CPR demonstrations
Great.
and whatnot. So there's a lot of interactive opportunity, as well as visiting nurse and some of the resources that we might rely on, social elder services and other private health-related entities that some people just don't know exist or don't know what they would get from them. And so it's a good time to come and ask questions if you haven't had the interaction before.
right, a
Those-
good place to get all those resources in one room.
Even for younger adults who
Right.
may have parents even elsewhere but just don't understand the network and the resources that are available.
Yeah.
Might benefit, of course, I would say, from that as well.
Great, so that's
So we
October
hope to see you
24th.
there on the 24th, yep, for 3
Tuesday,
hours.
am I right?
We have actually the first, I don't know the number, the first 50 there, I believe, get a brown bag lunch to bring with them to sit in on some of the seminar sessions as well.
But am I right, is October 24th a Tuesday?
Yes,
Or did you
it
say
is.
that? Okay, so it's Tuesday, October 24th.
And then we are having a Halloween party on October 29th. It's a Sunday at 4 o'clock at the Harbor Community Building, the Pier 44 building. And we have partnered with the Magical Moon Foundation, who assists children with cancer. And they're doing a sort of a truck parade to the lighthouse and then back to the building. And then we're hoping there's opportunity for seniors to interact with the kids and their families. And in fact, I think Magical Moon would even like some help in terms of decorating and maybe providing food. So we were happy to be connected with this and happy for the opportunity to have a little fun, get creative with some costumes, and come in and have a nice time from 4 to 6 on October 29th, Sunday. We could provide transportation if there are seniors who would like that. So call the Senior Center. It was not in the newsletter, as it came up after it went to print. So just call us if you have any questions or are interested. We'd love either your help or to have you attend. I also will mention at this time just briefly that the Senior Property Tax Work-Off Program is available to seniors who own a home in Scituate and would like an opportunity to work for the 100 hours at the value of $10 an hour to get $1,000 off of their taxes, so to have their property tax reduced by $1,000. So it's the time when I am soliciting those seniors who might be interested, over 60. And this is available as well through the assessor's office, who has other programs that you could inquire about, but this is the one that is managed through the Council on Aging. So it's best if you could come into the Council on Aging, the Senior Center. If you're interested, fill out an application, talk a bit about what you might be interested in doing. You hopefully would, or we would hopefully be able to place you in a municipal department offering some skill or service for beginning of the year, January through October is the amount of time that we allow for the 100 hours to be completed. Okay. So it works out for some, even if they may go to Florida.
Sure.
They still have time before or after to work the hours. Some are done very quickly. Some do it over the course of the months.
Yep.
And it works out. It depends on the department. We've gone from 7 positions that we've had placed previously, 2013, 2014, to now this year there were 15. So there's no guarantee I can place everyone that might be interested, but do my best, and many of the departments are willing to try and help and accommodate, and it's been working out. So
I think it's great.
that opportunity exists now for, at least for application, so you can come and see me at the Senior Center.
That's great.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll get a few people who are interested and have a few places that we can place them.
It's a great program, and it's a win-win. Oftentimes it's great for the person who's decided they do want to work. Maybe they get connected to a department and they can return, especially once the department has maybe done some training in that position. They actually like to have that person return to them each year. There's a little bit of a hiatus between when one finishes their hours and can restart the hours, but it works out. So hopefully the senior themselves has a good experience, and the department as well, and we can continue to do this and just add opportunities.
Terrific. Terrific.
All right, thank you.
We will see you soon.
Yes,
right?
Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to us at the Senior Center if you have any questions or needs. We'd love to see you, know about you, have an opportunity to provide you with what you might need, what you might hope we can do. So, thank you.
Thank you
for coming.